Anyone who has any connection with Ireland has heard about St. Patrick. Patrick is the man who is credited with bringing Christianity to Ireland in or around the 5th century AD. We remember him especially on St. Patrick's Day, the 17th of March, the date he's thought to have died. We know St. Patrick is connected with shamrocks. We know the story of how he cast the snakes out of Ireland. But the truth is that we can't be totally sure about much of that. The historical evidence for some of it is extremely sketchy. What we can be pretty sure about is what Patrick himself wrote. Did you realise that we have some of Patrick's actual writings? And we have two documents which most historians believe were written by Patrick himself. So we know what he actually said. The first document is a letter that Patrick wrote to a soldier who had just kidnapped some of his newly baptized converts and taken them as slaves. The second document is longer. It seems to have been written when Patrick was an old man, looking back on his life. It's known as his confession or declaration. I'll put a link to those documents in the description. In those documents, Patrick tells us his life story. He tells us that when he was 16, he was kidnapped and taken as a slave to Ireland, where he was forced to work as a shepherd. After 6 years, he escaped, and later he came back to Ireland and worked here as a Christian missionary for many years. I want to highlight two things that Patrick said in those documents. And the first is, I am a sinner. Patrick said that a lot. We only have two documents that he wrote, and he begins each of them by telling us that he's a sinner. His letter begins, I declare that I, Patrick, an unlearned sinner indeed. And the other document, his confession, begins, my name is Patrick. I am a sinner. Patrick also ends this confession by referring to himself as Patrick, a sinner without learning. So Patrick was very aware that he was a sinner. And if even Patrick was a sinner, all of us are sinners. I am a sinner, and you are a sinner. What is a sinner? A sinner is someone who sins, someone who disobeys God. We all disobey God. We all do things that are wrong. All of us know that. We don't even live up to our own standards of right and wrong. Never mind the perfect standards of a perfect God. We all do things that are wrong. And that has consequences. God won't just brush all those wrong things under the carpet. He is just. Sin deserves to be punished. So we deserve to be punished. That's the first thing Patrick said. I am a sinner. The second thing I want to highlight that Patrick said is, the Lord was merciful to me. Patrick spoke a lot about God's mercy. He seems to have been blown away by how merciful God was to him. He said, "The Lord was merciful to me 1,000,000 times." He said, "I was like a stone lying deep in the mud. Then he who is powerful came and in his mercy pulled me out." How did that come about? Patrick tells us, "I turned with all my heart to the Lord my God, and he looked down on my lowliness and had mercy on my youthful ignorance." Patrick turned to God with all his heart, and God had mercy on him. God forgave him. And Patrick wanted others to do the same. Drawing on a verse in the Bible, he says, "Let every tongue confess that Jesus Christ, in whom we believe, is Lord and God." He said, let every tongue confess. He wanted everyone to believe in Jesus like he did. He would want you to believe in Jesus. Will you believe in Jesus? Will you accept that Jesus is the one God sent to save sinners? Will you depend on Jesus' death on the cross rather than on the good things that you do to make you right with God? If you do, God will have mercy on you. He'll forgive you for all the wrong you've done. So those are two things Patrick said. I am a sinner, and the Lord was merciful to me. Patrick realized he was a sinner. He turned to God with all his heart, and God was merciful to him. If you realize you're a sinner and turn to God with all your heart, God will also be merciful to you.